So guys, as you can see, didn't quite last the whole of lockdown. Got to the point where hair was getting in my ears, into my eyes and stuff. 18 weeks without a haircut. Got to the point where, you know what, I felt this just had to go. Had a lot of comments from people who have seen me with this, saying I'm looking very like my brother. I think I'm a little bit more handsome than that. But yeah, didn't quite make it right to the end, but you know, nice for a little change. If you like it, guys, give me a wee thumbs up. Let me know if you think I should keep it. The wife absolutely hates it, so she's desperate for it to be grown back in. But if you like it, let me know. Can definitely consider keeping it if the people want it. Right, so what we want to dive into today is going to be athlete versus exerciser, kind of part 2. So after doing that last video, I felt like maybe I should expand on it a little bit more. In the previous one, guys, if you haven't watched it, I'll link it above. Basically talked about my thoughts and feelings on going back to the gym, what I'm going to be prioritizing. I want to look better, I want to feel better, and I'm not interested in so much of the competition side, so I'm not going to push my weaknesses as much. I'm not going to spend as much time focusing on areas that maybe would have needed to develop if I wanted to compete at such a high level. Okay, I'm still going to make sure that I don't neglect those areas, because again, I still want to be a well-rounded individual. I still want to be able to do all aspects of fitness, but I'm not going to be spending as much time specifically working on those things. Okay, so once I finished that video, I thought about how do I, or should that video be expanded, and kind of direction it should go in. So today I'm going to talk more about exercise selection for the individual, depending on whether they want to be an athlete or they want to be an exerciser. Okay, and the first kind of area I want to dive into is going to be skill versus effectiveness for exercise selection. Okay, now skills are play an incredibly important role in CrossFit. Okay, if you do not have the skill, you are unable to do the movement, and therefore you would be unable to compete at a certain level. Okay, that would obviously kind of dictate on where you are. You can be extremely unfit but still compete at a relatively high level in CrossFit if you are able to do all the skills. Okay, because again, you could be an absolute burpee ninja, row, run, do all that stuff, the light stuff, light barbell stuff, even wall balls, all that kind of stuff. But if you can't perform a muscle up, toes to bar, chest to bar pull-ups, handstand walking, pistols, all these extremely high skills, then you're not going to be able to compete at a very high level. So for me, when I got into CrossFit, obviously I wanted to learn the skills, I wanted to compete at a high level, so I spent a lot of time practicing the breakdown of these movements so that I could obviously do the eventual movement. I had a lot of time on my hands. Okay, I was younger, I basically just owned the gym, I didn't have a child, I wasn't married, so I spent a lot of time practicing to get better at these movements. Now, if I was starting CrossFit as a kind of low 30-year-old, I have a child, imagine I was working a straight 9 to 5, my wife was working full-time, that kind of stuff, and maybe only training 3 to 4 times a week. So do I really want to come into the gym and learn how to do a muscle up, okay, and spend a large amount of time staring at rings, practicing progressions, and things that take a long time to get to that point? Or do I want to come in and get the most bang for my buck in my hour, making sure that I'm being the most efficient that I possibly could? So if we think about the muscle up as a particular example, can I do some sort of vertical pulling, whether that's for a strict pull up, strict chin up, again going to help recruit the biceps, everyone wants to look good in t-shirt, or a kip and pull up, anything like that. Do I want to learn how to do that? Yeah, okay, they're relatively straightforward, not very complicated skills. And could I pair that with some sort of dip, okay, whether on the parallel bars, a ring dip, maybe even a close hand position press up, so I really focus on hitting the tricep and the chest? Will that give me the same, or will that work the same muscle groups as the muscle up does? Yes, it does. So I don't need to spend a lot of time practicing drills and kind of finessing that movement when I could get more bang for my buck and probably do more volume by keeping the movements relatively simple and practicing pull-ups and dips. So when you're thinking about exercise selection and whether you should go for skills or effectiveness, it's going to depend on what your overall goal is. So always bear in mind that when you are in the gym, what is my overall goal? Am I here to get the most efficient workout I possibly can do, or am I here to move towards a more advanced level of CrossFit? Do I want to be able to handstand walk? Do I really need to be able to perform a muscle up? Okay, if those things are kind of high on your list, then your priority should always be skill work and strength work so that you're moving towards that goal. Conditioning can take a kind of backseat. You should always move towards that type of thing. Okay, if I'm here to get the most effective time out of my hour, I'm going to keep it relatively simple. I'm going to get the most bang for my buck out of each movement. So I'm going to pull vertically, I'm going to press horizontally to make sure that I'm working my back and my chest. Okay, if we also think about the pistol requires like a high amount of flexibility through the ankle, the hip and the hamstring. Also requires a large amount of single leg strength. Now if I'm lacking in any of those areas, it's going to be extremely frustrating. It may take a very long time before I can progress to being able to perform the full movement. Could I easily sub that pistol out for some sort of lunge variation or a single leg Bulgarian split squat, where I could increase the reps and the sets that I do on a weekly basis? I could also increase the amount of weight that I use. So that's a very clear path that I can see whether I'm doing more work than what I previously have. Whereas with skill work, it may take a very, very long time before you see the benefits and the overall kind of final product. So again, depending on how much time you've got for training and what your overall goal is, it should kind of help determine what is the most efficient exercise selection that you wish to choose. Okay, now it also comes down to kind of where your mindset is. Do you have a very like kind of open mind learning mindset? Like you want to feel like you're progressing, you like learning new skills? If you're the person that's constantly maybe tinkering around at home, playing around with computers, if that's your thing, and kind of learning how they work, and you have that same mindset with everything you do, then maybe progressing through skills and breaking movements down is an enjoyable experience for you, where you feel like I'm getting a grasp of this, I understand the different components and the requirements of this movement, and I like working towards that. If you have maybe an extremely high stress job, you've got kids, you are strict on time for training, then simplicity may be a much better way for you to train. Coming in, making sure that you're hitting some back squats, and then going on to maybe progressing, like I said, to single leg work to build the glutes, compared to practicing pistols. That may be a much more beneficial way for you. Or should I just learn how to power snatch? I can safely take the bar from the floor to the overhead position, catch it over there, and then return the bar back to the floor safely instead of working on a full snatch. As if that was the case, maybe I'll do power cleans and front squats where you can substitute it out. You're still moving a large load from the floor to kind of overhead or at least to shoulder position. You're still squatting, but you don't have to worry about a full snatch, which requires a lot of finesse, a lot of skill, a lot of mobility. You don't have to put the time and effort into those things, where you can really just focus on getting the most bang for your buck. So it also depends on how the individual works and how they think, whether that's going to dictate whether you have a kind of learning mindset and you choose to go for the higher skill options, or again, you're tight on time, you want to get the most out of your hour that you possibly can in the gym, so you choose to go for a simplicity kind of approach to your training. Okay, we can also think about, if we think about the amount of time that we have to train, if you have a large amount of time and you're practicing skills, that's perfectly fine, because skills are going to be relatively low volume. Okay, it's something that you're building and you're working on, so you can't actually do too many repetitions before you maybe hit complete muscular fatigue and you can no longer perform the action. So if I'm thinking about, again, we'll go on to maybe like a handstand push-up this time, or a strict handstand push-up. If I have a max set of say 6 repetitions of strict handstand push-up, if I do 5 reps, I've hit a very high percentage, okay, of my overall capacity. It's going to take me a long time to rest and recover before I could possibly repeat that effort and build volume to work on the skill. Okay, so skills are generally going to be a much lower rep range. They're going to require much longer rest periods so that you can rest and recover and safely perform the new movement without getting injured, and allow you to perform it effectively. Okay, if the movement is a simple movement, we can have a much higher rep range, which again can lead to muscular growth. Okay, it can lead to muscular endurance. There's going to be obviously like a kind of cardio effect with that. You can get your heart rate up, you can get sweaty, and you can get a good pump on. You can feel like you've left the gym, and a lot of people feel like they've accomplished something when they have that type of feeling once they've exercised. Whereas when we practice really high skill movements, you may leave the gym feeling like, oh, I didn't really do too much today. But yeah, you may have moved towards your goal, you've refined the movement technique, you have built on principles to help you move towards that skill, but your volume could be a lot less. So again, if I'm low on time, simple movement may be the most effective kind of option to choose when I'm moving towards my goals. Okay, so that's also going to play into that's also going to be a big kind of factor in your exercise selection. The last one, guys, is going to be kind of muscle group selection and body composition. Okay, so again, if we go back to the start of the video, we talked about wanting to look good and feel good. Okay, it's much easier to maybe select a movement the way we can just make sure that we're hitting one target muscle group really easily. So a muscle up has multiple muscle groups that need to contract and relax to allow you to perform the muscle up. Whereas if I'm like, hey, I want to work my back muscles because I want more of a V physique, okay? Or if we're talking about if a girl wants a more of an hourglass physique, want to build the glutes, have a small waist, okay? So obviously losing some weight and some body fat, which generally around the midsection for the girls, and then we build the lats a little bit. That's going to give you that nice hourglass shape if that's what you're looking for. So again, muscle group selection, okay, the muscle groups that you're choosing to train for body composition should also play a factor in your exercise selection. Okay, again, it's much easier to work on strict pressing than what it is to think about maybe performing a handstand push-up, whereas I still get to work the shoulders. So exercise selection, guys, and I guess your mental attitude or your overall attitude to training is going to play a big factor in your training when you're in a gym. So bear that in mind when you're in. What is my overall goal? What am I trying to work towards? How do I like to work? Do I like to learn new skills? Do I like to feel like I'm progressing in that aspect? Or I'm quite happy to see sets and reps over the course of weeks and weights improving, and then I know that I'm getting better. Okay, that's obviously maybe for a lot of people a much easier way to measure progress, which can help keep you motivated and keep you training consistently. So obviously hit your overall end goal. Okay guys, so gonna end it there for exercise selection. Again, give me some feedback on the video, let me know what you thought, and we'll carry on this little series of athlete versus exerciser. Thanks very much.